All right, people. Welcome to Ears to the Street. I am your host, the guy HG. Welcome to Ears to the Street, where fact and entertainment meet. And today, I have a beautiful, beautiful guest. It's my honor, it's my privilege, to have someone of such notoriety, such scholarship, such intelligence, and just has overall been a pillar in the community with informing our people and just taking us to that next level. So without further ado, I want to introduce Dr. Maat.
Peace and love to you, brother. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to the build.
No, it's all my pleasure. I appreciate you coming on. Um, you know, I just recently, not recently, but in a short period of time, just got introduced to the conscious community. Just doing some internet searching. I've always been a person that tried to look into history and religion. And then one day, maybe like 3 years ago, I came into some House of Consciousness interviews. So, like, once I seen this person and seen this person, I was just like blown away because I had no knowledge of these people who was talking about all these things about our history. So, that kind of snowballed into me actually running into you. And my first time seeing you was with a debate that you actually had with Young Pharaoh. And
I
I know.
never had it. I never had it. Oh, you talking about when the Armin Ross squad had a discussion with Young Pharaoh, because we never had a debate. And I never had
Okay,
a debate with Young Pharaoh.
okay. Well, the video I seen, I don't know. Maybe it was like one of those edited videos or something. Maybe it's like you was hitting a point, then they was maybe so. That's
Okay,
probably what
okay.
it. Okay, that's
Okay,
probably what it
okay.
was then. But I know you guys were talking about like extraterrestrials and stuff like that and things of that sort. But that's how I got introduced to you. And from time to time, I've just been checking you out and listening to your stuff. So once again, I appreciate you coming on. Um, the first thing I want to ask you is, when it comes to history, our history, how important is it for our youth to really dive back into it and really search it out? What does it do for the youth today?
What does it do for the youth? It does a lot for the youth. And thank you for that question, because um, I vehemently believe that is history is the key, or one of the keys of history and education, but the key to our empowerment. You say, well, what does it do for the youth? It helps the youth understand the world as it is today. And so a lot of young people, and I've had this conversation with some of my students at Morgan. I tell them all the time, if you want to understand the reality that you are currently experiencing, you have to study history. It's
Okay.
no way that you can look around and assess what's happening unless you understand what was done in the past to create what's happening. And so history will allow you to get an understanding of the reality that you are currently experiencing. So right now, we're in a situation, and when I say we, I'm talking about Black Americans, African Americans. Some people don't want to be called that. They want to be called foundational Black Americans. And some people say, don't call me that, call me ADOS. But I'm talking about the group of West African, the descendants of the West and Central Africans who were brought here against their will and forced into chattel slavery, forced to cultivate cash crops, which created wealth for Europeans. I'm speaking to that group, right? That group who was emancipated by Abraham Lincoln in 1863. That group who experienced a Reconstruction. That group that fought in every World War. That group, every war, right? World War I, World War II, the American Revolutionary War, the Civil War, Vietnam, all of that. Okay. And so I'm speaking to that group who endured that, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, that group. So I just want to be clear, okay,
All
with
right,
the
there
group
we
I'm
go.
speaking
There we
to.
go.
And so so that's the we that I'm referring to. And so we are in a situation right now where Black Americans, that's what I'm going to call us, Black Americans or Africans in America, we own less than 5% of the national wealth. Some people say, 1%. Some folks say 2.6%, but nonetheless, it's less than 5%. We see that we're experiencing a racial hierarchy where you have black people at the bottom and white people at the top. How did that happen? The only way to find out how that happened is to study history. So what does history do for the youth? One, it gives the youth an understanding of the world around them as they currently see it and experience it, right? Two, history gives you knowledge of self. It's no way you can tell me that you know who you are unless you study your history. Okay, Dr. Amos Wilson tells us in his book, and I encourage everyone to read his book, The Falsification of African Consciousness. That should be a must read for everyone. He tells us that there's an intimate relationship between history, personality, and I think he said culture. I may be forgetting, but he said there's an intimate relationship between history, personality, and culture. So to know history is to know your personality, right? And to know your personality is to know your culture, because your culture shapes your psychology, your culture shapes your personality, right? And so that comes from your culture. So he talks about it being an intimate relationship. So you can't tell me that you know who you are unless you study your history. So history gives you knowledge of self. History can also be used as a tool to empower yourself. So it gives us the opportunity to look at what happened in the past and to identify what worked, right? And we can take that and implement it today, and look at or identify what did not work, right? What failed. And then we can say, okay, this failed, I'm gonna stay away from that. Or this failed and I know why it failed, and so maybe I can make some modifications and then implement that today. So history is also a tool for empowerment.
Okay, great reply. Great reply.